Okay, this time around I'm going to be talking about how to make the board for the chess set. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up Maya first, and I'll set up the project to continue working on the chess set. I'm going to go to File, Set Project, browse for where my project is. In my case, I have that located over here. I'll set the project, and now I'm going to open my scene. Actually, I don't have any, so I'm just going to be making a new one. File, Save Scene As, and this one is going to be my chess board. This is going to be P02b Bobadilla L chess set video. This is the one that I started working on the class, and this is the one for this video. So I'm just gonna save this video or this file as this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new cube, which is going to have a scale of 10, 1, 10. Okay, that is the actual size of my cube right now. Now I'm going to make these subdivisions 10, 1, 10, and that way I have all of these faces selected on the top. All right, then my next step in here is going to be saying select the faces here. So shift right click. That's going to take forever. So the other way that I can do this selection once again is go to the side, select these from the side, and then from the orthographic view unselect these ones. There you go. Then control deselect these guys, control deselect, control deselect, and control deselect, and that should give me just these center pieces. Control E for extrusion, and then I'm just going to be moving them up a little bit. I'm gonna select these, and these, and I'm gonna do a Control E, and I'm gonna be moving them down. So that is a very basic chessboard that we worked on in the class, and yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna delete the history of my object right now, and I'm just going to call this static mesh underscore chessboard, and I will be applying a new material to it. Now remember that there's a lot of different textured materials online. I'm just going to make one, or I'm actually gonna find one, I should say, and this is going to be my UV unwrap texture. I will use this one, is my favorite, and I'm just going to go to that image, and I will save these as, I will look for what my project is. In this case, once again, I need to go to that folder, my assignments and chess, and then I'm gonna go to my source images. In my source images, I'm just going to save the texture here. So I already have that. I'm just gonna overwrite this file, and I'm gonna close these two as soon as this is done downloading. Awesome. So close these and that. And now I'm gonna be making a new material. This is going to be a Lambert material, and this is going to be a static mesh sorry, that's material, M underscore UV. That is my material, UV, and then I will select the file, which is going to be T underscore UV underscore D, as in diffuse. I can also use the base color, either way is fine. Now my placement is totally optional, but I'm gonna rename it as well. So UV underscore base color. Okay. Now I will look for that file, and if I set up this as my starter project, then it's gonna be right under the source images that for default. I'm gonna select that, and now I don't see anything, and the reason I don't see anything is because of the rendering mode. Over here I have the different rendering modes available. This one here is for the texture, all right? Or I can just press 6 on my keyboard, and that is how it looks. Take a look at this, and if I change this view to UV editing, you'll notice how large this thing is. It's kind of hard to see, so I'm just going to click on this button to hide the texture. Something else that you can do is use a checkerboard. That's really not my favorite because I don't really see the numbers. So I will just go back and use my texture. What I want to have here is just a grade version in some image theme. That's perfect. Okay, so these numbers are really large, and that is because this is the default. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select these faces on the top, and I'm going to make a new shell out of them. So I'm going to go here, and maybe it's a good idea to try to move this guy to a different position. I'm just going to leave that there, but I'm going to hide the outliner. The view that you see on Maya might be a little bit different. It just really is because I have a different SP version. I'm in 2017, but the review version is just going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to select these faces, and you'll notice that those are the faces that I have selected in here. And what I'm going to do, first off, to the general shape, is going to apply a planar projection. That is going to be on the UV planar, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm projecting from the y-axis, so from the top. I'm going to hit project, and that's how my map looks like right now. Okay, that doesn't really relate to the other parts, so I'm just going to have my selection to edge, and I'm going to cut around my geometry, so all the way here. Okay, perfect. Now the menu might be a little bit different on yours, but you just need to find the cut. Okay, that's the only thing that you need to do here. Then I'm gonna go to my UV shell, and I'm gonna press W so I can move this thing around. This is the general cutout that my shape have. Okay, over here, this one is not perfect and doesn't really need to be, but I'm gonna select this shell, and I'm gonna hold Control over this view, right click and hold, then to faces and to faces. Once again, shell, to faces and to faces, and I have the faces selected. Previously I have the shell, but now I have these faces. And I will go to my UV, and I will say automatic mapping. Notice how it generates these many cuts, and kind of looks weird, and especially if you're going to be making a texture out of it, this is going to be terrible. So I'm just going to select from here to here. That is going to be this whole border. Notice that I selected it here, and then it got selected on this side as well. And the reason is they are connected, right? So if I go here on my 3D view, I will see the seam is right in here. Okay, so that's something else I can do. I can just say, hey, select all of these guys, and that is going to be selecting these. The next thing that I'm gonna do is move and so, and I'll select that, and that is going to move this part over here. You see that? Now if I select the shell again, that is going to be a single shell with the side, but this is not using this other side as well. So I'm going to make that cut the same way, or that saw the same way that I use here. Move and so, then select this edge. I'm gonna press G on my keyboard. That is going to repeat the last action that I did, and I'm going to select from here to here, G, and that is going to be repeating that. So I'm gonna select this shell, UV shell, and I'm just gonna move it out of the way. Notice that all of these are really disproportional. They are not in the place that I want them to be. So now notice the numbers here. They're super stretched in this area, but not over here. I'm gonna make a new selection. This is going to be hold Control, right click, and then say to UVs, and then to UVs, and that is going to select the whole UV set. I'm going to say now Tools, Smooth, and let's make sure that you go to the options and select the UV space. That's where you want to be. Then I'm going to say Unfold, and that is just going to make this super lean for me. Okay, this works because I don't have anything connected on this side. Notice that my seam is right in here. If I say, hey, connect this edge border, and I say move and so, and then I try to do the same thing, first off, notice how it's just wrapping around. It's trying to make it flat as much as possible. But if I select these UVs and then do the unfold, notice how the whole thing just starts doing this weird thing. So that's not something I want to have in my model. These seams are good, at least good enough. And yeah, I'm going to be hiding that seam as much as possible, but not for this assignment. So the next thing is I'm going to select, oops, what's going on now? That's perfect, just the preview. So notice that I cannot select anything now, right? And the reason I cannot select anything in this view is because I'm not in the selection. Even though it looks like it's a selection, if I select, nothing happens. If I select the UVs, notice that I'm not in the right tool. So don't let that fool you. Even if you go to the selection of the edges, that is not gonna do anything unless you press Q or W, E or R, whatever the case is. In here, I'm gonna press Q so I can select stuff. And now that I select this thing, notice how this one here is getting ready to be appended. So that's really it. I'm gonna select these and I'm gonna go to my modify, move and saw and move and saw it. And notice how it's just stretching the other ones. Okay, I'm gonna do the same here. So press G. I'm gonna go here and press G and here and press G. Notice that these guys are shared. So if I try to connect these, this is gonna connect it over here. So that's not something I want. I'm gonna press G here, select these one, press G, select these one once again, move and saw, or press G if that was your last action, and that is going to have those thing connected. Then I'm gonna select these because this is the side. If I press F over here, it's going to focus on it, and that is a 1. So see, it's internally connected. Or I can select it over here on the top, and that is going to do that trick for me. So I'm gonna press G, and I'm gonna select that one and that one and that one, and that is basically all of these pieces that were loose before. So I'm gonna select them. I'm gonna deselect these guys, and I'm gonna go to my tools, and once again smooth. Smooth is really useful in these cases. And I'm gonna try to stretch it out as much as possible. In some cases, even though you don't see like any possible ways of deforming, like it's just doing this curvature. You can see it here, it's not completely aligned. I can try to relax a little bit and then unfold again, and sometimes that does the trick. If it doesn't, then the other thing that I can just do is select the UVs and select these by hand and do a scale down. That is just going to stretch them the right way. But the issue with that one is that you will need to do it for every single row and every single column. You see that it is getting less stretched, but that step you could consider a little bit optional, and that has to do with the algorithm Maya uses for unfolding this. So that should be good. I'm just going to do this part, and I totally forgot these two. Okay, so here, and then these guys, these guys, these guys, and these guys. That didn't get rid of the horizontals, so I'm just going to work on those just to avoid this curvature, to make it sort of flat. But yeah, that's it for this part. So it's a couple of steps, but sure enough, it's hard to follow through on a single run. So I recommend you watch this video a couple of times if you still feel you have any questions with this sort of workflow. But I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The only two tools that I have used aside of the projection are the move and the saw from this menu. Once again, this menu kind of looks a little bit different than other versions of Maya that you may have installed. This is the newer tool set for UV unwrapping, and it's pretty useful because it has some extra functionality here on the top as well. Then also my UV toolkit, it has a lot of different functionality as well, but I'm not gonna cover those just now. And see, just with that, this thing is more straight than it was before. That still leaves me with this issue, like this geometry is completely disconnected, and this one down here is just disconnected as well from both sides. That's fine. I mean, this piece is clearly disconnected from these borders. You don't need to do anything fancy or particular to fix it. If you want to have less shells, something you can do is just move this part and then just try to append it, but that is going to, this part here is going to get in the way. So I recommend you just leave this as a separate shell. This one though, if I try to do the UV unwrap on this, UV tools smooth, notice how it's just going to collapse, and the reason is there's really nothing to cut around. You see this part here? It's just like, how do you make this half cube flatten? And the reason, or the answer, is you can't. You need to cut on all the borders, so you can just make a a nice job around that. So I'm gonna say cut, and once again I'm gonna select these vertices, and now I'm gonna unfold it, and now perfect, I have like really what I wanted. Awesome. So for this next part, what I'm going to do is just select all of these guys, and actually I'm going to select them as shells, and I'm going to change the selection. And what I want to do is try to have everything on the same menu. Something you can do is in other versions of Maya, it should be under edit, but over here I'm going to go to align and snap, and then I'm just going to say, oh, it's in there, arrange layout, and I'm just going to say layout. That is going to maximize the space in here. Notice that this is the most important part of my mesh, and that's why it's using so much space. Something else that you can do if you can't find that menu is just move it around and then just eyeball that position and just make it, you know, larger. This part is wood and it's going to be hidden, and I actually can just make it a little bit larger in this case, so I have more real estate on that. But this one is definitely the most important part of my UV set. Okay, so in here I'm just going to say increment and save, because that is the next step that I have over here. And what I'm going to have is this part as a separate mesh. It is going to be cut alongside this, but it's only going to be one single mesh. What I'm trying to do here is just save some real estate space. Okay, now for that, what I'm going to do first of all is make a new map so I know where to apply my colors, and I will select the whole thing as UVs, and I'm going to go to my create. Well, it's going to be under edit in other versions of Maya, but let me find that. View image, create UV snapshot. Okay, I have it on the image, but you might find it under the edit all the way up to the bottom. So image and UV snapshot, it is going to ask me, where do you want to save this? And I'll say save it in the same source image folder. That's where I want to put this thing in, and I will call this ChessBoard _ UV map. Okay, so I'll save that in. I'm gonna make this a 2K texture, so 2048 by 2048, and I'm going to make this a PNG image. This is important because I'm going to be using this as a layer in Photoshop. The color that I want to use is going to be green because it's going to be contrasting with a lot of different things, and then I'll just say okay, and that should have exported my material. So I'm going to continue this next on Photoshop. Now if I open my file here, you will see that it's kind of hard to see in the video actually, but you'll see that the coordinates are just like I have in here. Okay, so that is going to be the texture that I have for this thing. Going to Photoshop, I'm just going to open that file. So file, open. Once again, I need to go to the folder in which I created these 219 Maya exercises, homework assignments, chess, source images, and the UV map. So I'm gonna open that, and there you go. So it's kind of hard to see. I'm gonna make a new layer. Oops, I'm gonna make a new layer. Let me keep these folders. And this one on the top layers here, I'm just going to call it UV map. And I'm gonna hide it, select layer 1, and I'm just going to do a flood. That flood is going to be the texture for colors that I don't really care around. So let's see. I'm gonna go to my paint bucket and let's make these black. So that way green is going to be super contrasting, see in here. Now come to think about it, black might not be a great idea because I'm gonna be using these as the chessboard, checkerboard. So maybe I'm going to go with a light blue. It's not good with a green one. Let's see, yellowy, not great. Red, that's not perfect, but some color like these that can be contrasting. All right, well, something like this. Oh, this color is good enough. All right, now what I want to do is create the checkerboard. So I know that I'm gonna have a black, white, black, white, black, white. Let's make some masks over here. So that one, I'm going to select, let's make this smaller. Select this one. I need to have both of them selected, so holding shift, it should snap it in there. So that and that. And this one here. Good. So I have those four. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer, and this layer here is going to be my black color. Start with that. So here, and I'm just going to flood on this area. Okay. Now that I have these four, I can, with this thing selected, I can just say Control C, Shift P, and that is going to position it right on top of the same one. I can just then move it along and just move it down. See, I have the two colors now. Just make sure that they are in the right place. And I can select the two of them and Control Shift E. Control E is going to merge the two of them. And I can just Control C, Control Shift P, and that is going to be putting in right on top of the other one. Undo that. I'm just going to select that, and Shift and arrow down is just going to move it down. That's going to be that one. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, there you go. There you go. Then Control Z, Control Shift V, and I will repeat it just 2 more times for here. And Control C, Control Shift V, and Shift downwards. It doesn't need to be perfect, but I mean, trying to just make sure that it's in a good position. All right, now that I have that checkerboard, what I'm going to do is select the 4 of them and Control E, so that's going to merge them. Great. Let's do something here. I'm going to do a Control C, Control Shift V, and what I'm going to do is transform it in this way. So I'm going to make it smaller. It's going to go to here. This one is going to go all the way here. See, I'm just making these mirrored. Perfect. Now, the whole chessboard is completely covered, but if I hide, oh, I need to apply transformation, but if I hide this one, this is going to be the one that is my black layer. So I'm going to, or my white layer. So I'm going to select this by Control, click on it. See, notice I have this one here, and I have this one here. This is going to be the black one. So Control click on the layer that is going to select the objects. And now this time around, I'm just going to flood it, but with white. So now I have my 2 pieces, the blacks and the whites. Perfect. If you want to have these as a wood texture, that's fine. If you want to have it as a black and white as well, like in this same sense, the only thing you need to do is the same, basically, just make sure that you're selecting this area as well. Let me make a new layer. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Control D for the selection. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some rectangles, white rectangles for that matter. Everything that is outside of this area doesn't really matter. Let's see, the stroke is going to be no stroke, but actually no stroke here. The fill is going to be this. Stroke is going to be not existent, and that's the white color. So perfect. Now if I make a rectangle here, nothing is going to affect that area but this one over here. So that's something I don't want to do. Just want to make sure that my rectangles are as the best that I can. Okay, so these 2 guys, and once again I'm going to select these, Control C, Control Shift V, and then move it down so it's in this area. Control C, Control Shift V, Shift, move it down. Control C, Control Shift V, move it down. Okay, I'm just continuing that so it's on the side. Great. Now I can select these layers from here to here because that's the side. Now let's do that. Which one is this one? So that's the side. So is it the one on the top? Yeah. Okay, that one I don't want to select. I'm going to select all of these guys, and I'm just going to combine them into a single one. I'm actually going to rasterize these layers, so rasterize layer. And then I will do the same. I'm going to duplicate it on this side. So Control C, Control Shift B, and I'm just going to move them over here. Now that I have them in this position, that is going to be for the black layer, so I need to move it down. Great. Okay, so that seems fine. Now I'm gonna work with this one on the top, that layer. I'm just going to Control C, Control Shift V, put it over here. Control C, Control Shift V, move it over here. So at this point you can see I'm just really eyeballing that position. These guys are not completely aligned to the place that I want, and that is, you can see the purples. So let's try to make it a little bit better, shall we? I'm just going to Control C, Shift B, and I will move it here. Now that I have all of these guys in the right X, I need to make them into the right Y. So select these, and just make sure that they are aligned. Move them down, and that's about right. Okay, is going to be less noticeable than in the model, but yeah, the best thing that you can do is just always make sure that these are like positioned the right way. Now I'm gonna move them down here. I'm just going to make sure as much as possible that these are in the right place. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to connect or select all of these except for these two. So all the way here, and I'm going to merge them, and now I will do the same that I did before. So I'm going to duplicate it. Control C, Control Shift B, put it here, and then I'm going to transform it. I'm going to go this way, this is going to go all the way here, and this is going to go here. Okay, I'm going to apply my transformation, select these guys, and now I'm going to flood them in black. So down here, black. Wants me to do it one by one, sure. So all of these guys are here, perfect. Now enable the whiteboard. Great, so everything is laid out as it should. This is black, this is white, this is white. So I'm going to move this layer down here, and I'm just going to have the blacks together and the whites together. So that way I'll select these and these, Control E, I'm merging those, and then these two, Control E, and I'm merging those. These I will call white, these I will call black, and yeah, that's great. So now with these I have the board, but I don't have like the rest of the mesh. Okay, what I want to do now is make the wood texture, and trying to make the wood as I just did here is going to be really complicated. So once again, I'm going to try my Googles, and I'm going to go to you can go to textures.com, see textures.com as well, game textures. I'm just gonna Google one image, and that is going to be my wood texture. So I'm Googling that, and the images that I have are all of these. I want to have something that would be really easy to translate onto a board. So I don't want to fight with the grain as much. I will find something light. Yeah, maybe this one. It's kind of dark, but yeah, no. Something that can be used on a board. Well, this one seems okay. I'm going to view that image, and I'm just going to copy this image. Now this image itself is not like the right scale or anything. If you want to have a good image, I recommend you do a better research than what I did, and I'm just going to move it down here. Now notice that my grain is just awful, something a better texture is going to let you do is make use of repeated images. Like it's gonna have less seams and it's gonna be better basically. So something that wraps around is a great idea to work with. This one is just an example, so I'm just gonna leave it here and I'm just gonna keep on duplicating it and just attaching that. So here and here as well. Okay. So this area is gonna get covered in this texture. Perfect. Now there's a lot of connections here that are gonna disappear as soon as I move out. I can connect these layers, just merge them together, and that usually gets rid of the seams in the preview. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're seams or anything, but I will move these all the way down, so my black and my white are just on top of everything. At this point, you can leave this here, but maybe you want to use like a different shading color for this area. So I might as well just try to clean this up as much as possible. Good way to do that would be using the wand tool. I can just go to my UV map and say, hey, select, not my lasso, my magic wand. Select this area, all right, and then this area around it. That is just going to select everything but this area. But if I go to my select invert or inverse, that is going to be this one, and I can select and Control X this thing, Control Shift V to place it in the position, and that is the cutout. See, and now I have this thing that is going to be my texture. I will hide the UV map and I will try to apply this texture to see what it looks like. So File, Save As, and Source Images, this is going to be a PNG file. Actually, you can use a JPEG or a Targa file. I'm going to use a PNG to show you one issue that Maya sometimes have with textures with alphas, which might be the case for this one. So this is going to be the chessboard. I'm going to use the naming convention T_chessboard. And this is going to be the base color or diffuse. So I'm just going to say BC, chessboard BC. So I needed to say, I want to save this. And now I'm going to go here. In Maya, I will select this area and I will say, I'm going to change back to my Maya Classic and I will apply a new material. This new material is going to be one single Lambert. And this Lambert, I'm going to call it M_chessboard underscore, let's score nothing because that's a material, but I need to apply the same name on my shading group. And then I'm going to apply a color, file, and this is going to be chessboard underscore BC. This is going to start with T because it's a texture, and over here this is going to be a placement. So that's that. Then I'm going to browse for that image. The first place that it's going to look for is once again the texture folder, and there you go. That is my chessboard. Now I did kind of a poor job in here on the borders. That's okay for this texture. That's not something I want to modify right now. But there's a lot of like really purple borders. Okay, this is a really rough approach on how to apply textures. But something else that is troubling me right now is, do you see these seams? This part on the top is connected to this bottom part, but it doesn't really need to be connected. The reason I want to have these is I want to reduce the poly count right now. See, I have 576 faces, and I want to make this as much as efficient as possible. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to select these faces on the top. So the checkerboard once again. And I will go to my mesh tools, sorry, edit mesh face extract, and I'm just going to click outside. With that, I'm going to be making a cut. See, this object and this object are separate now. If I move this around, that is not going to be affecting the board, but you'll see that it's just empty. Okay, so what can I do here? There's a couple of things I can do to reduce the poly count. And one of them is going to be select these edge, shift this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge. I'm gonna click here so I apply the basic material so it's easier to see what I'm doing. And I will maintain those borders. So I'm gonna go back to my texture here on shaded, and I'm just going to say Control Delete. You see the texture maintained because the UV map was already set and I did not clean anything out. So UV editing. Do you see the borders maintained? That's the important part. Nothing that happened in the center is just like crucial for this. And I will do the same for this other area. That is going to be, click on this edge, that's gonna go all the way around. Double click on this one, this one. I cannot double click on this one because it is actually connected here, see? So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and I'm just gonna go all the way around. Pretty. Now with that, I'm just going to Control Delete, and then the seams will disappear. Okay, my objects are disconnected, and I wasn't really expecting this great of a result, so I'm just going to select the two of them. I'm gonna connect them together. If I wanted to maintain the number of poly count down here, I mean, maybe the shapes will be disconnected, or I will have some triangles connecting in the vertices or something of the sort. But right now, this is great. I mean, the poly count was reduced to 100 from, what was it, 500 something? I don't know, I'm just gonna connect these two. I'm then gonna go to Mesh and Combine. Perfect. Now, the fact that they are combined doesn't mean that the faces are going to be connected, right? This is just not right. So the next thing that I need to do is select this shape once again and go to my Mesh Merge. And now the faces are connected. The threshold hopefully was good enough, so I can just move this now. Yeah, and the whole thing is moving. That's great. That really reduced the poly count on this object. The only thing that I need to do now is import the other assets and then just clean my history. So I'm gonna go to my Maya Classic and I'm just going to continue from there. This is one of the three materials that I have so far. I have the chessboard, the UV set, and the lumber one. That's the original shape. Okay, so yeah, 100 polygons, not bad for this shape, and I still have the texture and everything. It looks nice. So I'm just going to File, Increment, and Save, and I'm going to open the other files. So I'm going to go to File, Import, and this time I'm just going to select the very last one. So import that, yeah, and there you go. It's gigantic. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to select these image planes and I'm going to remove them. I'm just going to have it on the same position, but what I'm going to do is do a Shift D so I can move the pivot point down, and I'm just going to move it up, and I will snap it here at the center of the world, so right here. Then I will go File, Import, and I'm going to go to my king tree, Import. Yep, I'm gonna get rid of this image, and I'm gonna get rid of this one as well. So this one has a different material applied. And notice now that I have the M modeling that is coming from the knight and the M modeling that I had for this other guy. So as you can see, the more I append files, the more is going to be a mess in here. I will be fixing that in a minute. So for now, I'm just going to apply a Lambert one onto this shape, and I'm gonna do a Shift D to move it down, move it all the way down here, and then I will just snap it up. Okay, onto this area. Is it here? Yes, perfect. Then once again, File, Import. What am I missing? So I have bishop, knight, no, king. I'm missing the knight. So knight is here. Same deal. I'm gonna get rid of this image. I will apply a Lambert one. This one has the pivot point in the right place, it seems. No, it's a little bit to the right. So D, move it. Perfect. Now X and snap it up. Gorgeous. They all are on top of each other. That doesn't really matter, or doesn't affect me for now. I don't want the UVs. I want the Lambert one. Then File, Import. Now let's see what is next. I have the bishop already imported. I have the knight. I have not imported the pawn, so the pawn is next. File, import pawn. I'm gonna get rid of this image here. Oh, the pawn is so small. Maybe I do have a different file. So file, import. Let's see, bishop, chess, set, pawn 1. Nope, it is small, so it's okay. I'm just going to do manual cleanup here, and then I'm gonna move it. It needs to be right here. Let's press 4. Now what I'm going to do is scale it up so it's on the same size as the other pieces. Yeah, maybe that's why it was so small, because yeah, it was actually the right size. Okay, perfect. So file, import, and what else am I missing now? The queen, I think. I have the rook. No, I don't have the rook already, so I'm gonna select rook, and queen is going to be my last piece, so this should be rook o3. I'm gonna deselect these. I'm gonna select this guy, and the pivot point is in the right place, so I will just move it up. File, import, and I'm going to select the queen, and then I'm gonna get rid of this image here, and I'm going to snap it up. Now over here I have a lot of reference images that I'm just gonna get rid of. Okay, notice also that I should have a lot of layers. I will just get rid of these layers. So delete layer. They were really useful for whenever I was doing the references, but that is not the case anymore. So delete layer, delete layer, delete layer, and delete my layer. Now that I have all of these guys here, what I want to do is apply a Lambert one to them. So apply Lambert one. But notice how I have a lot of different materials over here. It is time for me to do some cleanup. So Ctrl-Shift-D is going to get rid of the history of these objects. And this is going to be called SM_chessboard. And I will delete the history of the object that was created there. And then I'm going to select all of these guys that are visible, and I'm going to do Ctrl-G. That is going to group these objects here. And what I want to do is get rid of everything else that is not part of this. So I'll just hit delete here. This group, I'm going to call this G_SM, so group of static geometry, _chess set, because it's the whole thing. All right. So look at all the names here. And ooh, what is this? So king, bishop, chessboard, knight, queen, rook, and this is going to be my SM pawn. I don't know why it's missing a name. So I'm going to select all of these guys except for the board, and I'm just going to move it up and focus my camera here. What I want to do is calculate the actual size this thing should have. So I'm going to snap it here to this vertex. Okay, let's do that. P and move it to vertex up. It doesn't want me to for a reason, but I'm just going to move it here. All of the pivot points should be on this position, so it's more or less fine. Maybe X. There you go. Okay, so now I'm going to scale them up so they are in the right size, and I'm going to move this piece just to any other position, really, just to make sure they're going to be facing the other pieces in side to side. So let's find the right position for every single piece. Okay, so these are going to be the black pieces. I'm going to right click, or before I do that, it's easier to clean up this way. I'm going to go to my window, rendering editors, and then hypershade. The hypershade is a really powerful tool that is going to let me just clean house, if you know what I mean. I'm going to select all of these materials, and I'm going to deselect the MUV. Actually, I'm not using it anymore, so it would be a good place to delete it, but I'm going to keep it. That Lambert one is not going to let me destroy, so I'm just going to leave it there. And then M chessboard. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the modeling materials because I don't even know which one is which one. On the texture, I only have the base color and the chessboard, so I'm going to leave those two. In my rendering, I have all of these guys. I don't really need them, so I will just get rid of, let's see, Default render. Yeah, I can get rid of these guys. Shading groups, I need to destroy everything that is not my chessboard, so that's why I named it. Remove that, and that's that. If when I close this, I think I see anything in green or just an outline of a wireframe, that really means that I got rid of the basic shape. I cannot get rid of the basic Lambert, so that's why I'm going to maintain that. Now I'm going to select all of these guys, and I'm going to right click and say, you know what, I want to make a new material. This is going to be a bling. I want him to be kind of shiny, so this material is going to be M, and what did I say was going to be the black pieces? Sure, M black. The color is going to be black, and that's all of my pieces. All right, I will select the king, and I'm going to move him into position. The king uses the centerpiece, so that's where it is. Now I'm gonna go for my queen, and I'm going to put him in the black spot, in the white spot right here. Perfect. Now actually I model all of them facing this way, so it makes sense that I move them over here. So king is going to be here. Instead of rotating all of them, I'm just gonna position them in here. So I'm gonna undo the two transformations that I had. I'm just gonna move them here now. So black king goes in the black. Queen goes next to king. There's the first bishop that is going to go here. I honestly don't remember the order of the chess pieces. I'm sorry about that. So this is going to be bishop 1, and I'm going to control D, that one, that is going to be bishop 2, and I'm just going to position him here. So I have the two of them. I'm going to select the rook. This is going to be rook 1, and control D, that is going to rename it to rook 2. So I'm just going to move it over here. Then I'm going to select my knight, and I'm just going to move it this way, and I will rotate it 90 degrees because it seems better that way. Perfect. Well, not perfect because this is not really 90 degrees, but there you go. Now it's the right number. And then I'm going to duplicate this shape, and I'm going to move it into the right spot. Beautiful. Then last piece is going to be my pawn, and I'm just going to move my pawn over here. This is going to be pawn underscore 1. And then something I didn't consider is that all of these are going to be based on the colors. So SM black king, I'm just going to copy this part of the name, and I will rename every single one of them as their corresponding color. The chessboard is not going to be there, but there you go. Black knight, black queen. These should have been named black knight underscore 1, so this one gets the underscore 2, but it's all the same now. So I'm gonna select these: black root, black pawn, black bishop, black rook, black knight 2. Awesome. Now this guy, control D, position it in place. Control D, position him 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 in place. D in place, D, and in place. Okay, so all of these pieces are now in the right positions. What I'm going to do is I will make a new group. I'm going to select here, and I'm just say control, actually no, I'm going to select the king first and the queen, these two. So king and queen. Control G is going to group them together, and I'm going to call these black pieces. This is a group, so it starts with G. This is a subgroup of the chess set. Okay, so black pieces. I start with the queen. Now let's go with the bishops. I'll select the bishop, middle click and drag into this one. I'm gonna go for bishop 2. So all these pieces are going to be grouped together. Then I will go to my knight, and I'm going to locate my knight here, and then my knight over here. So I'm gonna take my rook 1, and I'm gonna put it here, and my rook 2, and I'm gonna put it over here. Then I'm gonna select all of these guys, and I'm just going to middle click and drag, and that's gonna have them all in order. So I have all the pieces right here, I will apologize if I mistake the order of these two. I'm not a great chess player, as you can see, but right now, I mean, I have the pieces in the positions that I want. Now, the next part is going to be really kind of cheaty. I'm gonna cheat, yes. The thing is, I'm gonna use these as a pivot point. What I'm going to do, notice how I have these groups selected, is just say Control D, and that is going to duplicate everything. Okay, now this one is not to be the black pieces, but the white ones. Okay, so I'm gonna select these name, and I'm just going to call them what they are. White king, white queen, white bishop, and so forth. So I'm just going to do that. Apologize for this, I know it's kind of tedious, but I really want to maintain my naming conventions on all of these pieces. So all of that, and perfect. Now I will select this group, and now I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. You see that? I just rotated, or 180 degrees actually, 180. So now they're facing each other. I have all of these guys selected, so I'm just going to say assign a favorite material, which is going to be another bling, and this time around I could just select one of them, and that's going to take me to that bling. This is going to be my m_white. It's going to be white color, and I will rename also the shading group, so white shading group. Sometimes depending on the game engine, it's gonna take the shading group, sometimes it's gonna be the name. I usually just attach that SG at the end of the group, so just like that, black SG as shading group. And that's it. That is really my chess set. Now, one thing that is important here to notice is that all of these guys are going to come with trash transformations, especially because of the scale. So what I'm going to do is select everything, just everything in here. And that is going to go to my modify, freeze transforms, and now it doesn't matter what I select, all of them are going to be just cleanup. I can do the same with the history. I can just say Ctrl+Shift+D, that's going to get rid of the history. What is not going to work with is going to be the group, the empty one, right? Do you see that? If I say 0, that's still going to be the right position when it was created. So I'm just going to freeze that transformation. The other way is I can just select these, shift all the way down, and then do that in a single swipe. Freeze transformations, and that's going to get rid of the transformations of the groups as well. So I have two groups and this mesh. So my poly count is 27,932 triangles, which is a lot for a chess set. But I mean, if it's a game about chess and you're going to be making the logic for the game itself, then it's actually kind of low. If you're going to be bringing this on a mobile, maybe it's large, I don't know. For now, it really depends on the whole environment around it, but this seems good enough for me. So this is where I will stop the video. You have already seen how to clean the history, how to freeze the transformations, how to rename the object the right way, and that is what you're going to be graded on. All right. I'm just going to do file and increment and save. So that's what I have. When I go to my folder in Maya, what you'll see is that my scene itself is going to be rather large. This is going to be the chess bed, and it's one meg. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to my source images, and the one image, the one file and the image, I'm going to zip it up, file, and make a zip. And then the name of this zip file is going to be P02b underscore last name initial, and this is going to be chess set. Okay, so that's that. This is going to be my summation. It's about 1.5 meg. That is because this piece is large. This is like 1 meg as well. So something like that big is perfect. All right. Once again, that is a chess set. I should work better on the seams because 1 pixel in pixel space can mean a lot in the model. Okay, so I would need to retexture these outside of camera just to make sure that I did everything in, you know, like the right way. But that is good enough. That is going to be my solution for this homework assignment. All right, thank you very much, and keep on modeling.